Hello everyone, this is HunterTube back with a video that you probably didn't see coming! I mean, if you looked at the community post that I just did like who knows how long ago, you probably would have saw this coming. But today we have a very unexpected review and a very early review at this matter, as today we are looking at an item from the new 2026 merch. And for my first acquirement of this new merch, I decided to go absolutely bonkers and buy what is dubbed the best set of this range, and it is the Cranky's Dockside delivery train set. So, a quick backstory on where I got this. I bought this off of Amazon.com. I did not pay $300 on eBay for this thing because no way in heck am I doing that. That is ridiculous. And fun fact, when these ended up on Amazon, they ended up selling out in the time span of literally half a day. I am not joking. They did come back in stock just recently with a longer wait of shipping. But I jumped at this set so fast because I needed it for a special project I am working on, which will come out later this December. So yeah, this isn't the copy of the set I will use for this project, but I will be copying the stickers in the printer for that specific project when I will need to buy a duplicate of this set. And I will be waiting till my Walmart gets this set to pick up the duplicate copy. That is unless Marshall's comes in clutch somehow like they did with the barrel set twice. But anyway, with that little backstory out of the way, let's get to looking at the box. So, starting off in the top left corner, we have the new Thomas and Friends logo. And right next to it, we have available on YouTube Kids, which is referring to not only the Watch Out Thomas series and the new music video series, but it is also referring to when the actual show will drop on YouTube Kids. That is right. The show will not only be on Netflix, but it'll also be on the official Thomas channel. But moving on, we have the new Motorized logo. New for 2026. And right here in this plastic bubble, we have the new Thomas himself, who seems to already have some poor chips on his handrail. Why? And then here we got his little cargo truck, which has cucumbers in it. And here's a look at that face. Moving on down from the box, we have Cranky. We have pick up and drop off cargo with a sort of ghosted Thomas up there as he's coming up to the Sodor Market. We have the crates of vegetables or veggie bubbles coming in to the dock where we have Thomas waiting. And down here we got that egregious promo that they slap onto everything because yes. And then down here in this corner we have a look at the set, and they seem to, and Amazon didn't do this, but Mattel, for some reason, seems to have slapped a sticker of a barcode on top of the original for some reason. And they did the same thing on the bottom. So the CGI Thomas from the original series is covered up. But here we have that illustration of the CGI Thomas that was used on the 80th merch. And we have the same all engines go flatbeds with CGI wheels that magically get cut off at the bottom of the wheels for some reason still. Then here we have the Easy Connect track logo with a bit of track going down the side. And we have a faceless Skiff and his clone. All in all, I honestly really like this box style way more than the previous box style. It is so eye-catching. There's so much to catch your eye. And then we have the top. We got Thomas and Friends with that nice blue wood. And then the gracious promo. Here's a good look at the top of Thomas. Here is this side of the box, which shows you all the pieces and content. Here is this side of the box, which has the full promo and the logo. And here is the back of the box. First up, we have our new Thomas and Friends logo, and then we have the playset name in a bajillion different languages. And then we got all the legal blah blah down towards the bottom. And then we got a good look at the set here. And then up at top, we got a description. So much to deliver today. Help Thomas and Cranky make deliveries from Brendam Docks to the market. With train-activated surprises, help Cranky move and deliver the cargo. And then we got the thing about an automatic crane, which is powered by Thomas himself. And here we have little character descriptions. Here we can see Thomas's promo, which honestly looks a little different from the front. Like his face isn't as yellowed. Like his face looks yellowed on the main promo, but it doesn't look yellowed here for some reason. But Thomas's description is, Thomas, sociable, cheeky, and bold. He's ready for any job. And then here we have Cranky the Crane, and for some reason he has his nameplate when they're trying to get rid of any character that doesn't have a name. Because it's interesting, because Cranky had a yellow blob for his nameplate in All Engines Go, but here they're just going with it and putting his name right out there. And what seems stranger is the toy doesn't even have his name. But his description reads, sarcastic, funny, and a little grumpy. He unloads cargo at Brendam Docks. And just for a bit of funny, we have Cranky La Guru, aka that random bit when they called Carly Crane Vehicle Guru. But anyway, with the box out of the way, actually here's the bottom of the box. It's all just legal blah blah. And normally the CGI Thomas from the original series would be underneath here, but for some reason they put a sticker over that. And the production date of my set seems to be an early copy, so the Thomas in this set might be bad. Production date is January 31st, 2026, aka 31st day of 2026. So this is the first item that I own with a 2026 production date. Yippee! Anyway, let's turn the box to the back and open this beast up. So to open this set up, you press this little tab in here, and you end up wrecking the back of the box. Hopefully you don't end up wrecking the back of the box. To pull open the easy perforated edge, and hopefully you don't hurt your finger either. And give yourself a cardboard paper cut. Woo! Look at all that boogie in there. So the first thing we're gonna pull out are the instructions here. And they seem to be all nice and colorful, and I really like that style guide. Yeah, it's interesting. Thomas looks a little bit different here. It might be the print quality, but it kind of looks similar to how he does on the promo description here. So that's interesting. We also got this random pamphlet, which is barely used in Mattel toys usually. It was seen in the international version of the Animal Park Monkey Adventure set, if any of you remember that set from 2020. Because the English packaging doesn't have that, but the international packaging has this weird pamphlet in it. I'm pretty sure a few other sets came with this pamphlet. I forgot which ones though, but it's like telling you about button cell batteries. This set doesn't take button cell batteries, so why they put this with this, I don't know. Whoop! Going back to the instructions, this right here is my magnum opus piece of this set, as I shall begin cooking with these things soon, and you will see everything. So obviously here's our close look at the sticker sheet. And we have little windows with fruits and vegetables in them. We got a little tunnel. We got our door. We got more windows. We got our special receiving area. We got the Sodor Market, or should I say Walmart. Welcome to Sodor. And we got the little, I don't know what you call it, but it's that little bouncy thing that sometimes bounces. It's like a curtain of some sort. It's not a curtain, but it's that fabric-y part of like a building they see on the exterior. I don't know what exactly they're called. But here's the instructions. And if we fold them out, here's the parts list. You can see the adapter is part of that list. They even mentioned the adapter in the instruction. Redesigned track again! Includes an adapter to connect to our Thomas and Friends track sets. It's been forever since we had this sort of thing in the instruction booklet, but yeah. It's nice to see that again. Then we got how to apply the stickers. We got our one-time snap. And then looking at the other side, here's the track layout. Got how to put batteries in Thomas, and for some reason he has no decals. Got our how to play down here, which looks very, very nice. Then we flip it over. We got our assembly. And it appears the entire Dockside is a one-time snap. Oh, that's interesting. The roof piece there isn't a one-time snap, so that's interesting. That seems to be the only thing on the entire Dockside that isn't a one-time snap. Okay. But yeah, that was the instructions. So now let's get to the rest of the set. Okay, so instead of doing what I normally do and dump everything out, I'm just gonna slowly take everything out. So here's Cranky's base. Here's the underneath it. It seems they throw the new Thomas and Friends logo onto the bottom of like every piece. So it's like right here in bold, in blue. It's right here very small on the track. Here's the base. Wow, just... Okay, this piece on its own feels like something out of Play Rail. That's the vibes I'm getting with this. That is straight up the vibes I'm getting with this. I'm still a little disappointed that this sticker and this sticker are already applied onto the set, because I wanted to cook with this arrow and make it blue for a very specific reason. Walmart. I probably would have made the back a bit more of a blue, like a Bentonville blue. Maybe that's giving you hints. This lever here feels like a very nice lever. That stopper thing is very small, I will say. I feel like they could have made that a little bit bigger. Here's the tread wheels, which power Cranky. How long has it been since we've seen a set that has this sort of gimmick, where the engine powers the set? Actually, wait, they did this in Revolution. I forgot, they did this in Revolution with the walking bridge and the boat and sea set and the cave collapse set. So yeah, that was the last time we saw that, was the walking bridge. Yeah, that's Cranky's base, and it's got lots of water, and it's got a nice dock. It's got little log and crate here. This base piece genuinely gives me Play-Doh vibes, and I love that. Next, we got our purple and half blue container. I was about to say crate, but it's a container. There's a little notch in there which stops the crate from falling out. But yeah, very Americanized containers. And then here's our red container, which has the Thomas and Friends cloud on it. Very, very Americanized, I feel, with these containers. Here is the base piece, which also has the Thomas & Friends logo giant on it. This is gonna end up being hidden once the rest of the playset goes on. Here's the piece to put the track. There's the little activation tab for the truck. Here's a little staircase to get up to the market. We have a car park here for whenever the road vehicles release, such as Birdie the Bus and Flynn Jr. Here's the middle piece where the crates slide. What is that? What the? Why does this feel very greasy? There's like some weird grubbly pebbles on this. It feels very greasy for some reason. Yeah, you see that, right? There's weird little pieces of plastic, or I don't know what that is. It's on my hand now, these little black dot things. I'm not sure what that is, but it felt very greasy. And then here's the little rock thing in case your cargo gets stuck. Oh yeah, you can see that. There's little weird piece of black substance inside of there. And it feels very greasy. Maybe that's the grease from Thomas. I don't know. But this is the rock piece you lift up in case your cargo gets stuck. I always thought it was like the thing where you drop the cargo into here to start the journey, but I guess not. Here's the pieces to the market. Very nice. And here's the roof. Gives me Knapford Station vibes. Here's Cranky's arm. I'm pretty sure this front piece of the arm is straight up reused from that 2014 Playrail set. I'm not even joking. It legit looks like it. Here is the little gate thing with hook. I'm guessing this is meant to be like a sliding crane of sorts, judging by the way it looks, because it's got a hook and it's supposed to slide, but it doesn't actually slide. Here's our track adapter in this nice little bag, 2026 Mattel. Here's the rest of our little accessories. Here's our riser supports. Here's Cranky. Here's our sign. And I'm pretty sure the rest of the stuff that's in here is track. Just track. And Mr. Thomas up in here. So, first what we do, poke a hole into the back. And then it's an easy perforated edge, just like the rest of the box. And then we take our little screw holes and we unscrew Thomas from the holes. Thomas is free. Jeez, he feels light. Okay, this thing feels interesting in my hand. This feels very, very... It feels like a McDonald's toy. That's the best way I can describe it. It definitely feels like a McDonald's toy, and I may need to cut the camera to get that truck out. Alright, so now that we have all the pieces out of the box, let's take a closer look at the characters you get in this set. Alright, so here are the characters you get with the set. We're gonna start off with Thomas. I will say, seeing this thing in person, he is way smaller and shorter than I thought. He really does feel like a short, stumpy little engine now. Like, he definitely has he definitely has 6 small wheels, a short, stumpy funnel, a short, stumpy boiler, and a short, stumpy dome. That's definitely what this model generally looks like. In terms of plastic quality, I don't know. The plastic in this definitely kind of feels like a McDonald's toy. That's what the plastic feels like. It doesn't feel like the same quality as the 80th Thomas. I'll put it that way. Obviously, I already mentioned how my Thomas ended up having his handrails be chipped with the printing. Thanks, Vietnam production. I don't like you as much as China production because your printing is a lot cheaper and it can sometimes come off easier. But anyway, general overview. The Thomas proportion-wise definitely looks very Thomasy. This is like definitely the short and stumpiest version of a Thomas I've ever seen for a motorized line. Here's the front with that goofy face of his where he's like, ah! And then he's got a little lamp here. I will say I really like how smooth this part is. Sadly, we lost that nice round curve that the 80th model had, and now we're just going back to it being straight flat edge. Here's the other side, which honestly looks a lot nicer in terms of printing. The handrails aren't chipped or anything. Interesting how the inside bit here is dark blue instead of black. That's an interesting design choice. Here's the wheels. The back wheels are actually reused from the original Trackmaster Revolution Thomas, except they got rid of the holes. They got rid of the holes. Well, not completely, as there are a few early production models, say the January produced ones, that do have the holes in the wheels. Because the early produced models, the ones in like January, February, were made around the exact same time frame as the latest case of greatest moments in the 80th range, which features Thomas, Percy, James, and Flying Scotsman. I'll have a picture up on the screen, and sadly that assortment hasn't hit my Walmart yet because I need an extra James and an extra Scotsman for that same project I mentioned a few times in this video. The middle wheel does not spin 360 like we all originally thought it would when we saw the promo images for these. It kind of, the way it moves kind of reminds me of the wheels that are on like Tommy models where you like have to pull the middle wheels down to get into the battery compartment. That's the vibes it's giving me. I really wish this spun 360, but it's nice to have like an actual physical wheel that sort of moves. But anyway, the front wheels are a completely new mold compared to the previous versions. And part of me thinks that these wheels were from the canceled wheels that they were originally going to use on the 80Fs because they have a counterweight on them. Sadly, the wheels are flat on the bottom, so who knows how well these guys are going to perform on Classic Trackmaster Trackmaster Revolution. Another thing I just noticed, Thomas has this little block thing here for where his little inner pistons would be. And it sort of divots too. It actually divots too where like the inner pistons normally would be. That's so cool. The cab feels very reminiscent of the 80th Thomas where the whistles look very identical. The sticker is identical, just smaller. The boiler stripes are painted just like on the 80th model. The water caps look exactly identical to the 80th. Here's the coal bunker. Here's the starting button. Here is the back with the lamp and the giant magnet. And here is the underneath. And we have a little ticket emblem with the T on it. When you remember that, this was actually kind of like an old thing they used to do on like the branded merchandise where there was a little T with a ticket. Part of me really thinks they really dug deep into random little pieces of merchandise and promos and we're like, yeah, let's bring back the magical T ticket or whatever. And then we got Made in Vietnam. We got our production date of January 31st, 2026. 2026 Glen, 2026 Mattel. Why does this look flatter than a Trackmaster Revolution tab thing? I don't know why. It probably is the same depth as that, but who knows? I may test this guy on Classic Trackmaster Track to see how he performs. Maybe even play rail. But yeah, that's Thomas. Detail-wise, He's all right. Plastic quality wise, he definitely feels like a McDonald's toy. That's what I'm getting at with the plastic. Let's compare him to some other Thomases, shall we? The first Thomas we are gonna compare this guy to is this Thomas right here, the 80th anniversary Thomas. And this is the one from the barrel launching set, because he's got his eyes looking straight forward. So yeah, height-wise, the 80th is definitely taller. This thing definitely feels like a midget compared to the 80th model. It feels like a freaking midget. It's so small. It's so small, bro. This thing feels like a mini-me version of the 80th Thomas. It feels like the 80th Thomas just shrunken down to like a tiny midget size. This is like the smallest Trapmaster Thomas that's ever been made, I'm pretty sure. This feels so small. I'm not kidding. Look at how tall and massive this thing is compared to this. This is so surreal. Here's the sides. I don't know which one I like better. It's interesting, right? I do like the thicker number 1. I will say that. I do like the number 1, how thick the number 1 is on this one. I hate how thin that is. It's very tough to choose which Thomas looks better in terms of detailing. Oh yeah, they both have rivets. I forgot to mention that. This guy has rivets, and the rivet detailing seems to be different from the 80th model. This Thomas, the 80th one, has 3 rivets on his arch. This one has 4 rivets. This one seems to have a bunch of rivets going across the side and off, down like that and around. This one only has rivets on the top and the bottom, and I'm pretty sure it's because the handrail is there blocking the way. Actually, wait, what the heck? What the heck? The handrails on this Thomas are placed both before, like they're placed inside of the red lining. While on this Thomas, we have a complete square of lining, and then the handrails are placed on the outside of them. What? Okay, that is interesting. I don't think anyone has pointed that out yet. Another thing I like about this Thomas, I just realized the coal bunker lines are indented again, kind of like how they were on the Tommy Thomas. Whereas here, they're just printed on. That's a nice little touch. Also, I found it interesting, they indented the cab, but they didn't indent the plastic on the gap here. So that's a downgrade. I think I like this lamp a bit more. This lamp looks more like a bell, honestly. That's what I'm seeing it as. We've got these tiny little buffers. The buffers are more closer together than on the 80th. And let me grab something quick. I want to test something. I have brought with me a snowplow, and we're going to test and see if it fits. Ooh, it fits. It fits. It's on there tight. It's definitely on there. Yep, it is on there tight. It is clipped on. It is in that buffer range. Honestly, he doesn't look too bad with a snowplow. That actually looks kind of cool. Look at him with his little plow on. That actually looks really cool. It definitely feels a little loose though. Like it doesn't completely snap on. I mean, you really have to get it on there to get it to snap on. Yeah, that. It doesn't seem like it fits on there tight. But yeah, it definitely can sit on there nicely enough. Yeah, there's a bit of gap between those buffers, but it can fit. It does work. The snowplow works. For any of you who want to do snowy stuff with this Thomas, the plow does work. But that out of the way, that was the comparison with the 80th Thomas. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention the thicker side rods. I love these. I found it so funny how starting with the 80th, they're like, yeah, let's make the side rods cooler, right? these side rods feel like nothing compared to this. These are the best side rods I've ever seen on a Trackmaster. Why'd I call it Trackmaster? On a motorized Thomas ever. Yeah, these rods are amazing. And if I had multiples, I'm pretty sure the wheel distance is the same. Yep, the wheel distance is exactly the same. So theoretically, I could put these rods onto the 80th Thomas if I wanted to, or even a Trackmaster 2 Thomas. Speaking of Trackmaster 2 Thomas, all right, I have got not one, oh my gosh, this thing looks so weird, but two, oh my gosh. I've got with me two Trackmaster 2 Thomases, and I may have just made a revelation. These two are the exact same height as each other. Let me put it on a piece of, onto the box, just to double check here. Oh my gosh. Okay. Looking at this, I don't know. I think this guy is just a tiny bit taller. Let me look. They look almost around the exact same height. Oh my gosh. This is the, for any of you wondering what Thomas is, this is the remote control Mad Dash on Sodor Thomas. These two are the same height pretty much. These two are pretty much the same height as each other. That is insane. Except this guy looks a lot more proportionate. So, this guy right here has, this Mad Dash Thomas has similarities between both the 80th Thomas and this new 2026 Thomas, as his boiler is the same height as the boiler on the 80th Thomas, meaning that if they rose his cab upward, we could have had a nice proportionate RC Thomas. And he's the same exact height. His cab is the exact same height as the new 2026 Thomas. So if this guy wasn't running on 3 AAA batteries for the RC function, we could have had a nice proportionate RC Thomas or whatever. I don't know. But that is so weird how the Mad Dash on Sodor Thomas has some sort of relation to the last 2 versions of Thomas made. That is insane. I will say though, this Thomas definitely looks a lot nicer than the Mad Dash RC Thomas. Look how chunky this thing is. Look how chunky that thing is with its giant boiler. With its giant boiler and its squish squash cab. And then this one definitely looks a lot nicer in this sort of shrunken, smaller relationship. Because with the 80th, the proportions look a lot nicer. But anyway, I will say the new Thomas definitely looks a lot nicer than the Mad Dash RC Thomas. But that's all I wanted to bring up, was height comparison with this guy. Because I wanted to know if this guy was the same height as the Mad Dash RC Thomas. And he is. But anyway, Trackmaster Revolution Thomas. This Thomas here was actually a recent purchase of mine from like a incomplete Cassia set, but that doesn't matter. This guy definitely rides his buffer beam definitely rides a lot higher than the Revolution Thomas, it seems. Obviously, new guy is taller than the Revolution Thomas, so he's basically a middle ground between the 3 generations of Thomas, and we can put Broski in here to turn the tides over, as these two are the exact same height, but this guy feels like a middle ground between these two, and that is just insane. I will say, the plastic on these two, I forgot to mention that, the plastic on these two, this one, they kind of feel the same, but this one feels a little bit more higher quality. I mean, this is the China-produced one. The plastic on this definitely feels like a McDonald's toy. I will not stop saying that. Both of these faces definitely scream Uncanny Valley. I got the more terrifying one with the white dots in the eyes, as it does scream Uncanny Valley even more. But yeah, these two faces are definitely on a similar level as each other. Looking at the sides, I don't know which one's better. I kind of like the new one a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of like the new one a little more. That's so interesting. And then here's the back. Here's the other side. It's interesting. It's so funny to think that these two are made by the same manufacturer. These three were all made by the same manufacturer. That is insane to think about. But yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna do for comparisons against this guy. As if we go any further, lower down the line, things are only gonna get more and more strange. But yeah, that was Thomas. And after spending about a bajillion minutes on Thomas, I'm gonna try and make this cargo car a bit shorter. This is the cargo car that he comes with. And this is the front of the car, because the tipper works this way to tip into the market. The wheels on this are very small and very interesting. There are no screws on this thing. I'm trying to think, how do you get into this? Are there little plastic tabs that you squeeze? Or is this entire thing just glued on? It doesn't feel glued on. Okay, that feels sharp. That feels very sharp. I don't know. It doesn't feel as sharp, but it kind of felt sharp. These bottom corners feel sharp. Yeah, here's the underneath. Got the little trigger switch to activate the tipping feature. Got our magnets, our giant magnets on the front and back. Here's this side. And it literally is... It's literally the identical... It's the same graphic as like the 80th Troublesome Truck and technically the 2020 Troublesome Truck. Because the plank details look exactly the same as that. And then here's the front, no face. Here's the back. And then here's the inside with the plank detailing. That honestly looks similar to the 80th truck as well. I might grab that to compare that quick. Let me go grab that. All right. I grabbed the 80th truck. And the planking on the front and the back is different, it seems. But if you look at the planking on the side, it is exactly the same as each other. So they actually, wait. It is different. So if we look at the front, we have double rivets. And on the front here, we also have double rivets. But on the back, with this one, we have single rivets. This one, we have double rivets. So they did some minor changes to the tooling for this new truck. That is interesting. It seems the plank detailing on the inside is slightly retweaked from the 80th truck as well. If we look at that. Very interesting. The better look. Very interesting. But yeah, that is very interesting. It seems they slightly retweaked the chassis too, maybe, to get it to work. But yeah, that was our bonus little comparison to the truck. And I was also going to compare it to this truck as... Okay then! Things have just gotten super interesting. Okay, so they took the side detailing from the CGI truck and tweaked it. But the front and back are from the All Engines Go truck. What are they cooking here? What are they... Oh my gosh. This side here is also from the All Engines Go truck. It's got the same handrail. What? This is the most weirdest hodgepodge truck I've seen in my life. What are they meshing? What is this? I'm losing my mind. This is the strangest merch Mattel has ever produced. What are they cooking in these factories? What is going on? I'm going nuts. Okay. Truck aside, let's move on to our next character. Cranky. So, here is Cranky. And it seems we're going back to making Cranky look a little cheap, as he has absolutely no painted detail at all. Because when you compare this to the last Cranky that was made, which was the talking Cranky, that thing had so much detail that this thing kind of feels like a midget downgrade. I will say one thing though, I really like his really grumpy looking face. He looks pissed in this face. He's like, "Grr, get to work, you little bugs, or else I'll send you to wherever I can't move." Probably another weird thing about this Cranky is that his head doesn't turn. Instead, his whole body turns, which is kind of not accurate. And anyway, he has the giant hook. I'm pretty sure this part of his arm is completely original to this mold, but I am 100% certain. I feel like this magnet arm bit is reused from the Playrail Cranky that came out in like 2014. And before you say, how can Mattel get Playrail's molding assets when they're two totally different companies? Well, this isn't the first time Mattel has used assets from Playrail. Look at Motorized Railway. Look at when they made that giant Thomas, and it's literally just the exact same tooling as the Playrail Big Thomas from like 2015, except they changed the track connections. I don't know how they managed to get away with that and how Tommy even let them do that, but they did. But yeah, here's his ladder. And I just knocked over the truck. Here's his other side. Here's his back, his plain old back. I will say one thing. He has a nice winch detail up here. That's something we haven't seen on a Cranky ever, I think. I think this is the first time a Cranky in the Motorized range has ever had that winch detail. Actually, I think I'm wrong. I know the 2020 Cranky had winch detailing up there. So this is the second. If we shake it around, you can kind of hear the magnet rolling around in there. And then here's the underneath, which is brown. Interesting. But yeah, that was detailless Cranky. Alright, now with all that engine detail and character detail out of the way, let's do what we're supposed to do and put a battery in this guy and test his motor out and see this chassis. That is an interesting cover right there, and it seems we can just easily unscrew his face, which is nice. We can unscrew his roof too, which is even nicer, it looks like. There's a spring in there holding the button mechanism in. So it's a spring-loaded button. Here's the battery compartment. It honestly reminds me, the way this is set up, when I first saw this chassis, I initially thought it was set up like one of those knockoff Thomases, where the motor was placed vertically in sort of this direction. Pretend this is the back of the motor where the gear is, and then this is like the front of the motor. That's initially what I thought with the way this looks set up. It seriously looks like there's like this thing here where the motor sits, but no, the motor is right here. Just like a Trackmaster Revolution. But anyway, let's get our AAA battery. We're using a Duracell as our tester, and he's already on. And he sounds a little rattly. Hopefully, okay, that is weird. The inward position for the button is off. The outward position is on. Usually inward is on, outward is off. This is the first time I've seen this where inward is on, outward is off. That is interesting. Also, the battery gets put in the reverse direction, so that's interesting. Let's pop his tabs on. Let's screw them back together. And we're gonna... Honestly, he sounds smooth. He definitely looks sprightly. I don't know how sprightly he is. Since this Thomas has been running for a while, these two look like they're running at the same speed at the moment. So this Thomas here isn't running on fresh batteries, but definitely they look like they're running at the same speed at the moment. This guy would normally be running a lot faster compared to that Revolution Thomas. Yeah, that Revolution Thomas. Fun fact: this Thomas was in the pool. That's how it was when I found it. But I got his motor working a little better. But that definitely looks faster than the new Thomas. That looks a lot faster. But yeah, that was performance, and we're gonna test that performance now as we put the track together. Alright, so off to the right hand side, you can obviously see the track is finished, but I pulled a piece of track out because we're gonna do the inevitable comparison to the Trackmaster Revolution track. So, this new track definitely feels a lot thicker than the Revolution track. The inside rail is also narrower than the Trackmaster Revolution track, and that is because the die-cast engines have a narrower wheelbase for some reason. It's basically collectible railway all over again, which does make me theorize on a few things, and I am going to test many types of engines on this track during the running session, not just Thomas models, but other models, because there are a few certain models that I want to test on this new track. But yeah, here's the straights, and one thing I noticed off camera is that the straights are now just called S for straight. There's no number anymore, where when it was like Trackmaster, it was like S1, meaning that this was the long type straight. So this is the only straight length we're going to be getting in this new track system, unless you count the adapter pieces, which are, and I checked, not the length of an S8 or the length of an S4. They are an in-betweener length. So, yeah, this is going to break railways if you plan to use these adapters on your Trackmaster 2 railway. It's not going to work well. But as the adapter works, you just connect it like that, and then you can connect your Revolution track, and you can expand your railway if you wanted to, or not. But yeah, speaking of this track, this does feel very, very strong. It doesn't feel like classic Trackmaster track, where if you take one step on it, it's gonna break. The sturdiness of this track kind of feels like the same sturdiness as, say, GeoTrack's track. That's how sturdy this track feels. It definitely has that type of sturdiness to it. That's how I'll put it. It has an interesting interlocking system, which is, as they put it, easy connect. But yeah, that was our track comparison with the Trackmaster 2 straight. It is definitely a lot thicker than it. Oh yeah, and it also has rail tie details underneath it as well. Yeah. But there is another piece of track that I want to compare this track to, as it is very, very similar to it in terms of the way it works. I think it's time I introduce you to the world of the one time I purchased mid. Here we have a piece of Mighty Express track. And if we look at this piece of track with the Mighty Express track, you can tell there are definitely a lot of similarities to it, with how thick the track piece is and how narrow the middle rail bed is. They seem to have a similar depth to it. Also, I forgot to mention this, Everyone keeps forgetting to point out the re-railing feature, and I will test that out too. I will test out the re-railing feature with this track, which is something this track has, which the Mighty Express track doesn't have. But yeah, looking at in terms of thickness of things, they definitely look similar. They definitely have a similar style of connection too when you think about it. They both feel like an easy connect sort of system when you think about it, as they both have a similar sort of connection to each other, where it's like a sort of like a puzzle link sort of thing. I get the feeling that this new track system was sort of based on the Mighty Express track. That's what I'm getting at, except they added a extra re-railing feature to it. But it seems 2 straights of Mighty Express track equals the length of a long straight and an adapter of the new Easy Connect track. So that's interesting. And now we're gonna test the Mighty Express trains on this track, and I will give them a proper run later. But here's Farmer Faye. She seems to fit pretty well. Now we're gonna try Freight Nate. Oh my gosh. He fits perfectly. Oh my gosh, he fits perfectly. He fits so much nicer than he does on like Trapmaster Revolution, because on Trapmaster Revolution, Nate is just riding the very edge of that rail there. If you can see the spacing. Yeah, the spacing, his wheels are just like right towards the edge of the rail. So he's like got the same sort of wheelbase as the new 2026 Metal Collection. But if we look here, you can see there's a bit of spacing between the wheels here. So he can now slide. He has a bit of distance to slide around. So yeah, the new Easy Connect track is compatible, and it's pretty much the exact same rail distance as Mighty Express track. So there you go. Anyway, with that little side quest out of the way, here is the completed track set. So here we have Cranky and his 3 multicolored American containers. Here we have Thomas down at the dock with the little crates there waiting to go. We have the little stop and go, which still does have a nice sort of leverage to it. Over here, we have the Welcome to Sodor sign, which does show a bridge. And interestingly about that Thomas and his cars is that they have magnets on the illustration. That is so funny. But about this sign, right? There was this theoretical thing. I don't know if I should say this. There was a theoretical thing about a Vickerstown tunnel. Being the thing that transports between Sodor and the mainland. But here, it shows a bridge. It's interesting. But yeah, that's the Welcome to Sodor sign. As we follow the track along, we can either go into the tunnel, which has the tunnel sign, and or we can go up to the Sodor Market, which honestly looks kind of cool once you put all the stickers on it. So we got little crates of apples and oranges, which are very Tommy-esque, I must say. And then we have some details with like fruits and vegetables in the market. And we have the entrance door, and then on the back we have the receiving area, and we have this little flap here, which I initially thought was going to be made of felt, but it is not. And we have the little hazard stripes, and for some reason, the trigger piece is spring-loaded. I'm not sure why. Then we have this side of the market, which has more fruits and veg. And then we have a tunnel that leads absolutely nowhere. Continuing on, we have our switches. Interesting how they did the track embedding on this and how it glides upwards in some areas. I'm very curious to see how engines are going to handle these. It definitely looks a little better than like previous Trapmaster 2 switches though. And we come around back to Cranky. So let's load Thomas up with some cargo and see how this set performs. and how Thomas performs too. Alright, so first we're gonna take this crate of cucumbers and we're gonna load it into the truck there. And we're gonna start Thomas with the push of a button. Thomas looks very sprightly. Oh, he's sort of re-railed or something. He's coming up. Oh, he's actually very sprightly. Crate has been delivered. He doesn't seem to be struggling like I thought. Let's bring him to a stop. See him power the crate. Crane's gonna come over. Oh my gosh, that is such a fun feature. Okay. Okay then. The truck tipped the cargo over. And now Thomas is gonna come around and he's gonna crash into the cucumbers. Woof. Alright, we're gonna try that again, see what happens. Set it to stop. Thomas is gonna come up, he's gonna power Cranky. Gonna drop the cucumbers. Oh! It did properly that time! And Thomas will be on his way! We're gonna send Thomas through the lower track this time. See if my set malfunctions like soups. Hey! My set seems to be working fine! The switch isn't malfunctioning! Hooray! Thomas will do his little loop thing. We're gonna send him up towards the market again and have him deliver his cucumbers. And we're gonna do a bit of a challenge here. I wanna see if we can have both sets of crates inside the market at the same time. Thomas is gonna come up with his tomatoes, drop them off, and we're gonna see if the tomatoes stay in the crate or if they're gonna fall out. Ooh, they do stay! Okay. And now, when Thomas comes up to the top, he's gonna drop off his cucumbers. And we bring him to a stop. And he comes over to Cranky. He's gonna pick up some tomatoes! That's cool that the crate actually stops before the section there, so he can deliver a different crate each time. That's a fun feature. But we're gonna bring Thomas to a stop, and he's gonna pick up his cucumbers like so. And now we're gonna bring Thomas to a stop. And we're gonna do some other testing. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to test out is the re-rail feature. So we've got Thomas' little truck off the track here. It's sort of sitting in the middle of the track. We're gonna send Thomas away and see if the truck magically re-rails itself. Okay, go. And it does! It re-railed itself like that! That is such a cool feature. I gotta say, I really like that easy rail track. That's such a nice feature. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna do it on this side this time. And like that, it re-railed. Let's give him a longer load. Alright, so we're gonna give Thomas a bit of a hauling challenge. So we've got his blue truck. We've got Scruffy and a bunch of other wooden railway wagons from various different brands behind him. I was originally gonna do a re-rail test, but that did not work well. So we're gonna see how strong this Thomas is. And go! Okay, he seems to be doing pretty well. Oh, he seems to be slipping on the curves, so that's not a motor issue. We'll see how he does on the hill. Whoa, he's doing a wheelie! He's popping a wheelie! What's going on there? I think I know what is going on. This Thomas is too lightweight to handle all this cargo up this steep incline. But I think it's proof to show that I think my Thomas was not a bad runner. Because he seems to want to really pull this up that hill. Yeah, he can. Okay. I think I made the train a little too long. Let's shorten it a little bit. Alright, so I've reduced Thomas's trucks down to 4 wooden railway wagons and his special truck. So we're gonna see how he performs with just this. He seems to be doing a lot better. He's going up the hill nice and strong. He's doing his wheelie. Oh, he made it up and oh, he disconnected! He's now a free agent. He's gone rogue. He couldn't handle it. There was too much for his magnet to handle. Now he's gonna shove the train off the tracks. But I think that is proof right there that I managed to get lucky with my early copy of Thomas. And he doesn't have a faulty motor! Hooray! Because if my Thomas had a faulty motor, he would have came to a grinding halt right about here. Or maybe right about here. But yeah, he seemed to power through that. He was powering through that with his Papa wheelie he was pulling off. But yeah, it seems Wooden Railway is kind of works on this. I added Hector for community effect, see if he could handle these double bogeyed wagons. Alright, Thomas, are you ready for your next challenge? Because we're gonna bring in something vintage. That's right. We are gonna hook up the vintage dark blue Tommy carriages to Thomas and see how he performs with this. Alright, go. These things are a lot lighter, so, oh, okay, it doesn't like the Sodor sign. Alright, I've removed the Sodor sign, so now let's see how well it goes. He's going around nicely up the steep slope. Everything seems to be going through. Oh, the yellow thing got caught. Oh, he's made it! He's done it! He's made it round. The yellow thing's probably gonna get caught. Oh! It managed to get around. Let's see how he goes through the tunnel. I think that yellow car is gonna get caught and it's gonna unhook. Oh, it made it through! It made it round the whole circuit with all the dark blue Tommy wagons. That yellow one seems to get caught up for a split second in some areas, but he's doing it pretty fine. Up the hill and down. Look at him go, hauling that vintage cargo and his modern truck. Well done, Thomas. I am very proud of you. Let's see him do that hill climb one more time. Nicely done. Okay, just as a bonus, we're gonna try Thomas with those few wooden railway cars again, but this time around the flat circuit if he stays connected. We're gonna do him around the flat circuit to see how he handles these wooden railway cars on the flat circuit. And it seems like he's doing it pretty well. I don't see any sort of struggles or strengths. Also, yes, I add the cucumber in there for a bit of extra weight to see if it slowed him down or not. But he seems to be doing it pretty fine. Go, Thomas, go. Nice job all round. So yeah, that was our strength test, and it seems that I got a nice working Thomas and not a faulty one. So that is good to know. I'm glad I didn't get a faulty one, because I would have been pretty sad. So yeah, this Thomas is actually pretty strong when he works. And luckily, mine works compared to other people. But yeah, now that we've tested this Thomas on the set, let's do a quick few other tests before we get to our proper running session. So the first Thomas I'm going to test on this track is the 80th anniversary Thomas. So let's set him on his way. Round he goes past the sign. Up he goes, up. Oh, he sort of got caught up there. I've seen that happen with some people where he kind of gets caught up there. He can stop by Cranky Station and power Cranky. Although, if you try to load him up with cargo, he is too tall. Let's send him under the tunnel. Nicely done. Round the bend. I'd say you did a nice job. Next, we're gonna try the Trackmaster Revolution Thomas. Away he goes. We're gonna send him up the hill. Oh, he sort of got caught. Oh! He's gotten caught. I'm pretty sure, yep. He's caught on the trigger track. Around he goes. I'm gonna see how well this Thomas can power Cranky. Yep. Nicely done. He's straining. Way he goes, he's making his way around. This is a very jittery Thomas too. I'm just noticing that he's going blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he did pretty nicely too. The next character we are going to try on this track is the All Engines Go Motorized Thomas. There wasn't really a need to compare this guy to the new Thomas because they are vastly different, but we are going to see if this guy can work on this set. So away he goes. We're gonna take the top track first. Up he goes. Made it over nicely. We're gonna see if he fits through this little section here. He does. Oh my gosh. Can he fit through the tunnel? Yes, he fits through the tunnel. Let's see if he can power Cranky. Obviously, he's going to be too tall to deliver anything, but let's see if he powers him. He can power him, alright. All Engines Go Thomas is a go on this track. Next, we're going to do an interesting contender. We're not going to do Take and Play. We've already seen Wooden Railway, and that works really well on here. So, we can skip that over. Next, we're going to try this. We're gonna try out what is basically a Tommy Stack Tracks Motorized Coco, but also the Alpha Group Coco. And it seems this truck, which is a narrower, tight radius, seems to fit nicely around these curves, it seems. Coco seems to fit on these tracks pretty well. I know she can fit on the Mighty Express track. So there's your hint at where I'm going with this. We're gonna see if she can perform well on this track. So let's start her off. On her way. Away she goes. Oh. And she's gone. And now she's stuck. Let's give that one more try, shall we? Okay, away she goes, and she's off again. Bye-bye, Coco. Off you go, I guess. Okay, I got her to go as far as, like, Cranky's dock, going this way. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! She's going, and she's off. Free agent. So, yeah, the Tommy Stack Track chuggers are a no-go on this track, sadly, which is kind of a shame. Next, we are going to try the Evil Competitor. I've already got a gut feeling this thing isn't going to fit through some areas, but we're going to see how he generally works on the track. Okay, Freight Nate is doing fine, and he's caught on the points. Oh, he's slowly moving. I think he's inching forward. No, he's stuck. I'm gonna push him forward. Across the... Oh, little inch forward, got on that nudge. Oh, he's going. And he's caught again on the switches. I've already got a feeling he's gonna get stuck. And he's stuck. There's no way he's making it through that. Alright, round the bend, and oh, he's stuck. Let's see if he fits through the tunnel. Oh, he only just got through the tunnel. And of course he's stuck. And he's gonna get caught there. We're just gonna jump him forward, see if, can he power Cranky? Ooh. He's trying. He's trying. He's trying. He's trying with all his might. It's not gonna work. Cranky is just slowly moving. Look at him. He's trying his hardest. He's trying his hardest. It's gonna get caught. It's stuck. That's not fitting past him. Yeah, it's stuck. It's stuck. So, Mighty Express is a partial go on this. It doesn't work on the switches. It doesn't like the hills sometimes. But it does work on standard straights and curves. Good to know. Now I think it is time we can move on to our proper running session though. And let's do that, shall we? And that was the running session of the Cranky's Dockside Delivery Train set. So, what are my final thoughts on this set? And my first impressions of the new 2026 merch? Well, I'd say this set is probably the best set out of all the sets that's been released in the 2026 range so far. I don't even have this set yet, but I'd say Tidmouth Sheds comes in second. As for the other sets, I don't really feel like they have a purpose to exist. I mean, Bell Station kind of makes sense, but the Animal Park sets, just why? But this is the best set out of all of them, I'd say. Despite its minor little flaws, like how sometimes Cranky will drop the crates, sometimes Thomas just won't stay coupled up to the truck for whatever reason. I mean, at least my Thomas didn't have running issues, thankfully. But what would I give my rating of this set? I would give it a perfect 10 out of 10, but I think a fair rating would be either an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. I feel like that's pretty fair to give this set for the few minor flaws that it has. But this has been a special review on the Cranky set for the 2026 range. And with that out of the way, this is HunterTube saying thanks for watching, bye for now, and hopefully Amazon can get some more stuff back in stock soon, because I want Gordon! I want him so bad! He's one of the few models that looks really good in this range. Please, Amazon, get him back in stock. I want him so bad. Also, why do I have a scary feeling that this review is going to end up being an hour long?